her son's birth?
He couldn't breastfeed, he couldn't, very, very quickly it became apparent that he was behind on his milestones, and at 9 months I read a report online which made me feel that it could be the epilim. So I did my own research, went back to the GP, explained it all to the GP, and he told me he'd never heard of it, but he believed me.
So your GP had never heard of it,
No.
And you let's just rewind a bit, you spoke to a specialist when you first
my neurologist, yes.
And they said they were aware of it, but said no problem taking Valporate.
Yes, and there was never a question of me changing medication at that time. They said I should stay on it. It was a very small risk and all the risk could be detected.
Well, cut the dose. I mean, that seems to be the advice now.
Well,
they didn't even say that to you.
No, I think looking back and knowing what we know now, I shouldn't necessarily have even been on that in the first place. It should only be used in severe cases where nothing else works. So, you know, very quickly it was very obvious that Matthew was not developing as we expected, and he now has 2 types of epilepsy that he's not inherited from me. He has cognitive learning disability. He's got ASD, dyspraxia, ADD without the hyperactivity, poor memory, his motor skills are poor, and he's just come out the education system with people saying that he hasn't attained. What he's done is remarkable, what he's managed to achieve.
A lot of problems, poor chap. He's what, 15?
He's 16.
16?
Yes.
And have the medical professionals accepted that link between his conditions, I should say, and you taking the drug?
Matthew had a formal diagnosis of fetal Valporate syndrome at 18 months. We didn't know all of the symptoms at that time, and some of them have come out over time, but he had a formal diagnosis at 18 months by a geneticist. So.
And you've had a daughter since, and your experience then was totally different. You had a lot more information by this stage. Yes,
well, when they discovered Matthew's problems, they then looked into me. They found out that I had side effects that weren't very, helpful to me. So and my liver was being destroyed by the medication. So they decided that it was probably best we try something else. So I tried 2 different types of medication that didn't work, that caused other side effects, and then they put me on to another one. What I didn't realise was that Matthew was born, I had to have fertility treatment to have Matthew, and the Valporate had caused the infertility. And so over time, it reversed, and 2 years later, I found I was 8 weeks pregnant with my daughter.
Without fertility treatment?
Without fertility treatment.
No problems whatsoever?
No. One of the side effects of taking Valporate is polycystic ovary syndrome, and that's what I'd had. And so I was immediately rushed to see a doctor. He gave me all the information he could possibly lay his hands on, gave me a complete informed choice. And Charlotte was born a very quick birth, a very easy birth. She was born, she's had absolutely no problems at all. She's never seen a GP, she's never seen a doctor. She's 9 going on 49, to be honest.
Yes, I know the type. So we now have this hearing, this public hearing at the EMA. Presumably you want to give your evidence to it.
I've given a speech to them today.
Great to hear that. What would you like the end point to be?
Well, first of all, hopefully the outcome from this will be that every year when a woman's epilepsy medication is reviewed, if she's on Valporate, that she will sit down with her doctor and they will lay it out every year to her what the risks are if she chooses to have stay on that medication and plan to have children. So they can explore alternative drugs for her, whether something else might work instead, or whether she has to make an informed choice, in some cases, either to go ahead knowing those risks, or probably the choice that we would have taken, not to have children. But if there's an alternative drug that they can be put onto, that opportunity is given to them at that point. We also have to look at that's the outcome that we hope for. We've also got to look at, as a separate issue, the children that have been affected. There's up to 20,000 of them in this country. Nobody seems to want to care and support our children, and as parents, we're incredibly concerned that we will do everything we can for Matthew for as long as we're alive, but who will look after Matthew when we are dead? because we need for him to be looked after. There's a lot of his potential, and that needs to be compensated to him in a care plan that pays out an income to him every year.
Catherine Cox there talking to me earlier about concerns about the epilepsy drug Valporate. Now, President Trump has responded.